Hello, in this video I'm going to give you a case study of driving anxiety, and I'm going to explain how someone who had panic attacks when they were driving and OCD overcame both of those things in one session in just over an hour. So if you don't normally watch my videos, my name's Paul and I work online with people all over the world to help them overcome their fear of driving. So people have asked me, how do you actually do it? What happens in a session? And I will be filming some sessions soon, but I thought it would be interesting to explain to you exactly what the problem really is. So I'll give you a quick kind of brief overview and then I'll start talking about this client's case. I would like to point out that I have changed some of the details. So if you're a client of mine watching this and thinking, oh, is that me he's talking about? Please bear in mind that many people I work with have similar problems and similar reasons. There's always a unique cause, so I can't give you the reason. People email me and say, can you tell me what's causing my anxiety for my symptoms? No, because it doesn't work like that. I can't just tell you what the problem is. You do have to speak and go through therapy. But if you're thinking, is this about me? Is this my case? I've changed some of the details for privacy. And I'd like to point out, in case you don't know, that driving anxiety has nothing to do with driving. So your driving anxiety is only a symptom. It's not really the problem. But let me get into this case study now and you'll see what I mean. So somebody contacted me and they had the normal problem of driving at speed, driving over bridges. Many people have the same symptoms. The symptoms, like I say, are irrelevant. Please don't waste your time going for driving lessons with instructors and all that kind of thing. You won't fix the fear of driving like that because it's nothing to do with driving anyway. But we use those symptoms as a starting point. So classic symptoms, I had sweaty palms, driving over about 50 or 60 miles an hour. They would sweat and they'd feel lightheaded. These are all symptoms everyone has. So if you have them, don't worry, they're very common. So doing what I do involves working out what the problem really is. Now, I've done a whole playlist of videos, which I'll link to on the screen up here now, about how to find the root cause. So I'm not going to talk about how I did this, because that's in those videos. But simply, we found out that their fear of driving all went back to a time they were at school. And this is very often the case because many clients have problems that go back to childhood. Not always, it isn't always that, but often it is. So what had happened is we found this thing where when they went to school, they had to do this. I think it was a singing competition or some kind of musical competition or performance or something. And they were convinced they were going to come first because they were really good and they loved playing. I'm not going to say it was singing, can't remember exactly what it was, but singing. So they loved singing and they were really good at it. And they were convinced they were going to come first. And they came second. And one of their parents said to them, maybe if you just worked harder, you would have come first. And that was the cause of their problem. Now at this point you might be thinking, what's that got to do with anything? To me it's obvious, it stands out a mile why that would cause driving anxiety. But let me explain, because I haven't filled in all the steps. And you might be thinking, how can coming second in a singing competition make you be an anxious driver? Well, what had happened is, you see, when you are in an emotional state, that's when your subconscious mind is more open, because all problems come from your subconscious. So when this person came second in this event and they were upset, I think they were crying, and their parents said to them something about, maybe if you'd worked harder, you'd have come first, or whatever it was they said, something like that. That message went into their mind. Their mind, imagine it started the unconscious mind, it went right down to the subconscious. And the subconscious learned that to avoid pain and suffering, you need to work harder. And this is what I mean when I say all problems have a positive intention. People say, my driving anxiety is terrible. why would my mind make me feel like this? Why does it make me feel so bad? And they're crying. Because all your mind, your subconscious mind is thinking is, if you don't work hard, you're going to suffer, you're going to be upset, and you're going to get pain. So your subconscious mind starts running a program, work harder, work harder, work harder, because it wants to protect you from pain by getting you to work harder. Can you see how that would give someone OCD? Now, OCD, if you don't know, is obsessive compulsive disorder. I don't like the word disorder because it's not really a disorder. But what it means is this client of mine felt the need to constantly be doing something. So instead of just sitting still and relaxing, they would have to go upstairs and they had to sort their whole wardrobe out, from the blackest item being on the far left to the lightest white item being on the far right. And they had to have all their clothes in this kind of ascending colour or whatever it was. They also felt the need to keep going out and gardening. Is the grass short enough? Is that tree okay? Do I need to trim that? Do I need to do the washing? Do I need to put the plates in the cupboard in a different order? They had to have the plates in a specific order. Why? Because their mind was running this program, work harder, work harder, work harder. That's why they had OCD. And this is why things like, again, I'm not medically qualified, but people take medication for things like this. That's working on the symptoms. I work on the root cause, because what I do is with hypnotherapy, we get straight into your subconscious mind and go right down to the core level. It's a bit like, imagine you've got an icon on your computer desktop and you just delete the icon. Well, the program is still there, still installed. So we go right down deep into the code and completely shred the file. We don't just delete it, we shred it and then we overwrite it, and we do like an 8-pass military grade overwrite of your program. So anyway, you see, this person was thinking, work harder, work harder, work harder, and that's why they had OCD. Can anyone now tell why they had driving anxiety? Because most people, when they drive, feel, I don't like saying calm and relaxed because, you know, it's not about that, but most people will feel, in a way, calm when they drive, or at least it happens on autopilot. You kind of get in and drive the car. But imagine doing that with a program running in your mind saying, work harder, work harder, work harder. So when this person was driving, instead of being able to just drive automatically like they did for many years, like most of us do, can you see how a program running in their mind saying work harder was giving them driving anxiety? Because instead of just being in a car like this and just driving, okay, checking my mirrors, yeah, speed's okay, there's a car ahead there, going to slow down a bit. They were thinking, work harder, work harder, work harder. Is that car going to hit me? Am I going to go over the bridge? Am I going to crash? Is my speed okay? Is my gear okay? Are my feet on the pedals? Are my feet right? Is my hands okay? Work harder, work harder. That's what it was. So once we found that whole thing about work harder, we simply changed that. And the difference is incredible. When you get to the end of a session, and I'll be showing you this soon in recordings, and you say to someone, how do you feel about driving? Like at the beginning, you say, how do you feel about driving? Oh, can't do that. And at the end, how do you feel about driving? It's easy. I can do that. It's easy. The difference is incredible. And it's because the client has come up with a solution. Now, I don't want to get too much off topic, but during my time as a driving instructor, when I trained instructors, some instructors would insist that the best way to instruct was to tell people what to do. Do this, do this, do this, do that, do that, do that. Doesn't work. Yes, it does. My method works. I've been teaching years and all my pupils pass. Do this, do this, do this. That's poor teaching. The answer has to come from the pupil, like the answer comes from the client. Now, if you say to someone, why would you need to do that? How would you do that? When would you need that? It sticks in the mind, rather than just telling them what to do. So if you go for therapy and your therapist is telling you what to do, you're never going to get anywhere. It won't work. The answer must come from you. Can you see now how, if at the start of that call I had just given the client the answer, it wouldn't have worked? Imagine that we began the call and somehow I magically knew what the solution was, like some people think they know. They think, oh, I know what it is, I've got the answer. I can promise you haven't, because how could I have possibly known to tell them to not work as hard? But imagine we'd begun the call and I'd said to the client, oh, you've got driving anxiety. Well, I've got the answer. So all you need to do is not work so hard. The client would say, what? Don't work so hard. What are you talking about? I don't work hard. Oh, you need to stop working as hard. That's your problem. Because you see, you're working hard and you're panicking when you drive and you're sweating, and that's why you've got anxiety. What? It wouldn't make any sense at all. We'd be saying, what? Now, the tragic thing is, you've actually found the answer, but because you've given it to the client, it won't work. And you've now messed up because you've got the answer, but you've completely screwed it up. You see how the client has to find the answer themselves, because when it makes sense, go back to school. Oh, I came second on my parents told me I had to work harder. And yeah, I had to work harder. Is that why I keep working hard? No, this is what people say. Oh, that's what it is. And then the tears come, the crying, the emotion. You see the difference between telling someone, oh, you need to just stop working hard, or them realizing it. My job is not to tell you what the answer is. My job is to help you what we call hold the space, which is when you focus, you enter this hypnosis, which is not some weird thing. Again, I've done a video linked on the screen now. It's not some weird magical state. It's just a state of focus where you go into your subconscious, and you don't have to shut your eyes, but many people do, so I'm shutting my eyes now to illustrate that. And people say, oh, I was told to work harder. And then they link it all together. And sometimes people go like this. Work harder. Work harder. I can hear my parents saying work harder. Is that why I've been dashing around? And you can see the cogs turning in the client's mind, and I just sit back and I don't speak. I'm not one of these therapists who's, yes, you have the power and you are entering a magical land, and in your mind, shut up. Let the client do the work. My job in a session is to say as little as I can. I will virtually not even speak in a session. But sometimes people say to me, this is strange, I've just come to you, you have hardly spoke for an hour, and now my life has changed. The OCD, gone. Driving anxiety, gone. They're out with the family, they're out with the friends. Other things changed. Can you see from that case study how a driving instructor saying, check the mirrors, and they're being good, they've got good intentions, but check the mirrors, check your speed. Are you okay? Take a nice deep breath in. Let's do some mindfulness. Focus on now. Mindfulness will not fix the problem because it ignores problems. Focusing on the now doesn't fix the problem. It's just ignoring it. Hypnotherapy and hypnosis are the most powerful things you can use to overcome problems, in my opinion, because we go straight into the core of your programming. So I hope you can see from that case study how this works, and I do want to show you some sessions live, as it were, not live, but I'll be recording them and then giving you commentary, hopefully without hiccups. So I'll be giving you commentary over, telling you what I'm doing and showing your clients going through this. There is one in particular, one story I would love to tell you, and I don't know if I can because of client confidentiality. I could change it a bit. I might ask the clients if they mind me talking about it, but it was an incredible story. If you could see why they had anxiety, where it came from, how we got to that, what a story that was. That will always stick in my mind, I think, for the rest of my life. I remember that client and that story. They're all special, they're all different, but that one was so long-winded, and this led to that, then to that, then to that. And trust me, if you get these people online who do these ridiculous 10-minute long videos, this is how to fix your driving anxiety. When you're driving, place your hands on the wheel at 10 to 2. Make sure you take a deep breath in and out, and then think of pixies and fairies and have a focus on your journey and smile and say, I can drive, I can drive. How pathetic is that? Affirmations, write down, I can drive a car, I can drive a car, I can drive a car. Do you see how all those things are on surface level? They're just working on symptoms. What I do, dive right down to the deep core of the problem. Find it, well, the client finds it, make them realise by them thinking, is that what it is? Problem gone. And it's not just your driving, because always remember this. Your driving isn't the problem anyway. So we're not even fixing the driving, that's like a side effect of fixing it. Your life will change in quite a few ways if you do this properly, but it's not easy. I can promise you from watching therapists work, 99% of therapists haven't got a clue what they're doing. And if you don't do it properly, even if you found that memory, and even if you brought it up, there was a good half an hour we had to do after that to make sure the result sticks, and that's where people go wrong. I don't want this video to be too long, sorry, I think it's probably about 15 minutes long already. So I won't go on for much longer, but this is a detail. So many people focus on the symptoms, not the real problem. But once you've found it, there is more to do. I used to make this mistake. I used to think, oh, I found it, I've got the memory. They've realised, thanks, you can drive now, bye. You haven't finished yet, and if you don't finish the session off properly, it's going to come back. And then you've got a problem. Again, check out these other videos on the screen for more help with your fear of driving. And if you want to work with me one-to-one online, contact me through my website, firstdrive.com. Subscribe to my channel if you want to be notified of new videos. And as always, I'll see you again soon for more videos.